Yeah, you may proceed.
Good afternoon to one and all, and welcome back to yet another session of Catalyst Chat. I'm WAV, Chief Social Officer of Catalyst Mar Baselios IEDC,
Yeah,
and
you
we
may
are
proceed.
delighted to have you all in here today. Catalyst Chat is a joint initiative by Innovation and Entrepreneurship Development Center IDC and Institutions Innovation Council IIC of MBCET. Catalyst Chat is put forth to bring together leaders, influencers, innovators, entrepreneurs, and philanthropists who will be sharing their life experiences and challenges in a common platform. Our aim is to help you all grab the essential mindset and motivation to stay relevant in the future world. We believe that would be a spark of inspiration to the young mind. Today in Catis Chat, we are extremely happy to have Mr. Andrew Mendes, who is an entrepreneur and marketer and has been featured at national and international level in the marketing and advertising space. He started his career at 17 with sales, had some chance with media, figured out while doing engineering, and then went on to start his first startup around loyalty cards. Later, he also launched a web TV production India Wide and a third startup Salt and Good Tea Marketing Communications. He is now part of a living group based in France. Ireland, he is now a brand consultant with focus on food brands and founder of Zimbly Eat. He has been a speaker at Digital Matters Singapore, TEDx NEC, TEDx NIT, Click Asia Summit, and has been working with national brands and organizations as digital consultant. We wholeheartedly welcome you, sir, to Catalyst Chats, and we will be speaking about life of an engineering student post-COVID world. Before I hand over the session to Mr. Antrin, I would like to inform all the viewers that you can post your questions on the YouTube chat box, and we will be considering all of them as per the time limit. So, Mr. Antrin, you can start the session.
All right, thanks. Thanks, Gauri, for the introduction. I have a small presentation I prepared for you guys. In fact, I wanted to know. All right, thanks. So this is live stream on YouTube, and most of you are also watching this on Zoom. I'm not sure which platform you guys prefer to participate, but what I would also like is if you guys can, as we speak, uh, also sort of try using the chat window just to say a quick hi. Tell us about where you're from and what you do as well. That would be pretty nice. Uh, I know all of you are engineering students, so that's clear. But I think what I meant is more in regard with uh, what branch you guys are in and all that. So you can either use the YouTube chat window, or you can also use the Zoom one, whichever you prefer. So if you can just leave a comment about where you're from, and of course which branch you are, which you're in, that would be nice as well. Just to confirm, you guys can see my screen, yes? So one sec. Just to confirm, you guys can see my screen, yes? Fine, guys, can you see my screen? Let me just double check this thing.
Yes, sir. All clear.
Oh, all right. Right. Okay. So I think for simplicity's sake, like Gauri said, we will keep the question maybe towards the end. So whatever questions, if you have, please, put them as comments. So whatever questions, if you have, please, put them as comments. All right. I hope you guys can see my screen. I've minimized everything else, so it's just the screen. If anyone can hear me, can you just confirm that again before I start the
We
presentation?
can hear you, and the screen is visible.
Yeah, you guys can see the screen. Yes.
Yes.
All right. Okay. So we are, when Arun sort of discussed about speaking uh, to you guys, I was thinking about what kind of topic would you be interested in. In fact, I also was curious that have I actually come to your college before? In fact, I think I have. I think I have visited Mar Baselios. Not sure was it when Aaron was there or not. but anyway, it's nice to be here. I am now in Ireland. It's actually 7:30 in the morning here. So it would be a lie if I tell you that I just woke up, because I actually woke up a bit early to work on the presentation, like a true engineer, who would prepare for the exam in the last minute. I also just finished the presentation work 5 or 10 minutes before starting this whole thing. So, good morning or good afternoon, as I would call it. Though Gauri did introduce me, I think it's only fair that I walk you through why I am here and what I am. Back in India, I used to run an advertising agency called a Salt Mango Tree. After that, I also tried launching a food brand called as Pling, which wasn't very successful. It nearly got me bankrupt, and I sort of then moved to Ireland. And currently, I'm working on launching a new food tech startup here. So that's what I'm doing. And while I was back in India, a lot of time I've spent and invested in how do I put that, in terms of going to colleges and talking to students. That's one thing I consistently do, and I like to do, because it keeps the whole learning process intact for me personally. So that's me. I don't know if you guys have heard about Salt Mango Tree, but yeah, just to show quickly, this was our team video when we were back live. So this agency, that I started with my friends, got acquired by a French group. I then sort of exited this whole venture, and then went on to launch the snack brand. Had a good run again for 3 4 years, but then we couldn't maintain the cash flow. Things went bad, I would say, towards the end. I would say around the time when the whole floods happened in Kerala, that's the period where things went really unstable for us. So we had to wind that down. So uh, I'll move on. So if you've heard about Salt Mango Tree or Pling for that fact, again, if you can drop a message and say a quick hi, that would be nice as well. All right, so moving forward. Yeah, so I think I've been an entrepreneur all my life. I've never really worked anywhere per se. I mean, I think when I moved to Ireland, I had my first job here, like a full desk job, 9 to 5, and I actually got fired from it. And I should tell you that was one of the best things that's ever happened to me in my life. Well, that's not really important. Now, I think in the next 30 minutes, I don't really want to talk about what I achieved and what my secret is, because let's be honest, there's no secret. There's no quick formula for success. There's no shortcut here, and all that really doesn't matter at this point. I think we are come to a point where the world has changed for everyone, and I think being student, especially an engineering student, uh, in Kerala now is a huge challenge. So what I'm going to discuss is from the perspective, it's not just relevant to engineering students, it's probably relevant to any student anywhere. But yeah, I'll try to keep it as relevant, for you folks. So in the next 30 minutes, all I want to do is I want to talk about my college days, and maybe you could take away a few points from that could help you with your own college life. So that's what I'm going to do in the next 30 minutes, right? So one important thing, I know you are all probably watching Zoom phone, so it might be pretty complicated, but if you have any questions and something that we cannot discuss here, I'm always available on Instagram. If you want to reach out to me, ask me any questions. So follow me on Instagram. It wouldn't be very hard to find me. Always just search for Andrine Mendez, and you should find my profile. So follow me on Instagram if you're not already. All right. So to begin with, I think we all understand this. We are in a new world. Everything, I think, has changed drastically in the last 6 months. In a way, I don't think anyone could have foreseen. So there is a new world order in the making, which I think all of us agree. And there's no saying what that world order is, because no one really knows how this is going to take shape. All right. But one thing we knew, irrespective of the COVID situation and all that, I think in terms of how the industries or how everything else or the commerce have taken shape, one thing that we all know is that data and process is the new currency, right? I mean, there's no doubt about it. There was an industrial revolution where manufacturing and industries and big uh, machinery was the new currency. It was all about having more jobs and more manufacturing setup. That used to be the pulse of the economy. But going forward, data and process are the new currency. And I don't want to bore you too much into stats, but if you are interested, I would say for you to understand, let's look at the market value of Toyota versus Tesla. Now, I don't want to confuse you with market value or what it is. So to put it in simple terms, that's the value of a company or the accumulated value of a company based on their share price and all that. So if you look at these two brands, right? I mean, if you look at both these things, a company which was founded in 1937, which until recently was the most valuable company in the world, was taken over by Tesla, which is just you know um, 17 years old, and it's not even making you know 10 percentage of the revenue as Toyota is, but yet more valuable than Toyota in terms of the accumulated value of the company. And I think what I said before is the reason for that, data and process. And I think we all agree on that. So if you're interested about that, follow the space and see what Tesla, the likes of companies of Tesla is doing and why their value is, viable. Now, forget Tesla or Toyota. If you come back to India, you will have a lot of unicorn startups now, which is also doing, a much bigger job. So for example, if you I'm sure you've all heard of Leela Hotels or the Taj group of hotels, right? But if you look at which is the biggest hospitality brand name in India, by not just brand name, but by in terms of sheer valuation or market value, it is actually Oyo. It's Oyo Hotels, who essentially don't really own any real estate as much as Leela Group or Taj Hotels own, but yet they are the most valuable or the fastest growing valuable company in the hospitality industry in India. So data and process is going to be the key. And what does this mean for you as students, right? As you as students, irrespective of what trade you're studying, engineering or not, the most important thing is that the careers you were prepared for until now, they might not be there anymore in the world that we are getting into, right? So that's one key takeaway that you need to understand, and that you have to be ready to face for. Now, obviously, we can complain about a lot of things. I mean, we can say how the education system is broken. In fact, I think from the latest update, I could say that it took us 34 years to even put in the correct name. I mean, just now, actually, we now have a Ministry of Education. It took us 34 years to even put the name correctly down there. So let's not look at the downside or complain about how the education system is broken, how that's not working, or this is not working. Doesn't really matter. All right. So all the systems where you are, all that, yes, it's situation, but let's take the good out of it at the end of the day. So uh, coming back to me, and I have a confession to make in this regard, and that confession is that I am an engineer. So I'm an engineering graduate. I studied in Federal Institute of Science and Technology. I am an electrical engineer, if that matters. How many electrical engineers here in the room today? I mean, if you joined here in SAT, if you can say hi, if you're triple E, as they call it, drop a message as well. So, oh yeah, let me complete my confession. I am an engineer who hasn't till date formally or applied anything that I've learned uh, through the formal education in my engineering degree, which means I'm an electrical engineer, but I have not used a single thing that I've learned of being an electrical engineer till date. So that's the one confession I make. And in that regard, I have good news and bad news for you. So the question is, are you ready for both of it? So um, I think let's go for the bad news first. All right. So the bad news I have for you is that all that money and time that you're actually spending here for your education, all right, in terms of the formal education that you're trying to acquire, all of that is of no much real world use. All right, so that's the bad news I have for you. So again, no disrespect for the educational institutions and the work they do and the teachers. That's not what I meant. No disrespect there, but on a realistic perspective, what you really learn out there formally is not of much real world use for sure. But there is a good side to it. Let's speak about that, right? What is a good side that comes out of it? Is that the skills and experience you acquire during this period, during your college life, is absolutely priceless, and that's what is important. And probably that's what you're actually paying for, all right? So when I say the skills and experience you acquire during, the college is priceless, I don't mean to say, the extra classes that you're sitting on, or maybe a language that you learn, or the coding that you learn by yourself. No, I didn't mean any of those things. That's not the skills or experience that I was referring to. But there is a certain set of skills and experience that acquire in college, which you do on its own. There's no extra effort required. You just have to be yourself and probably be a bit open to a couple of things, and that's what I'm going to talk about. So let me take you back to my colleges and give you an idea about what we are talking about here, uh, in terms of what is these skills or experience that's so priceless and so important that occur in your college days. um, all right, so first thing, I think back in my days, getting into an engineering college and becoming an entrepreneur, which I think is probably still the case, can be pretty overwhelming. In fact, if I have to put that um, what do you call that? That situation in an image. This is the image I would say, that you're like this guy who's sitting on top of this lion, and where others look at it in a very envious way. You are the guy who's sitting on top of the lion, worrying how do I not get eaten. But the people who sees you are like, oh my god, this guy or this girl is amazing. He's got into an engineering college, or he or she is an entrepreneur, and all that, which is great. But for the guy who's sitting on top, or for the girl who's still sitting on the top of the line, it's not going to be an easy game. All right. So this is, for me, this is how it was, at least when I got into an engineering college. I mean, you had your family and everyone was like, oh yeah, you got into engineering college, you're going to be an engineer. I mean, there's a lot of expectations riding on you, right? But you're 4 years down the line, you're like, what just really happened? Yeah, you really don't sometimes figure out what is going on. So things that helped me during my college days, and I'm going to put that into few steps, which probably will help you. And the first thing that I have to tell in that regard that is important during your college days is how you can define yourself. All right. So again, just to put in perspective, what this whole thing is. So my average attendance during my college days was around 20%. Now I'm not here going to what do you call that? Promote bunking classes. That's not the point here. But having said that, what I want to emphasize is that the rest of the 80% of the time I was busy exploring things or discovering things in terms of what I like. All right. And when I say discovering, I mean I was trying doing different things in college. uh, so 80% of the time I was mostly outside my college, attending inter-college events in other colleges. And when I say inter-college events, I was attending arts, I was attending technical events, I was doing paper presentations, I was going for dance. We had an amazing music team in college. We're all going to different college. I think we've been to Mar Baselios as well. I don't recollect what was your arts fest name. Mar Baselios Arts Fest name. I think we've been there. In fact, I remember we won the first prize for the dance and music during my days. in Mar Baselios. So yeah, that's what I've done in that 80% of time. I was busy discovering what I was really good at and trying to define myself in my own way. So this is the first thing that I did in college. And trust me, this is the only time you can afford to do it, because 4 years, 5 years, 6 years down the line, there won't be time and the bandwidth to do it. So while you're at college, spend that time, try to discover yourself. It is the only time you really get to do that and get to understand yourself. And it's just the start of a process. You might not really discover yourself at the end of 4 years. That's okay, but you start somewhere. So the first point is, during your college, you get to define yourself. You get to figure out what you're good at, what you're not good at, what you like, what you don't like. So that is one of the key things that you have to do. So mostly in college, you end up doing it because, you will be handed out a lot of things in college. You have to do that, do this, do assignments, learn all that things and write down an exam, do 6 theory papers, 2 practical papers. I remember during, if I'm not sure how many exams you do these days right now, but I think we did, what is it, 6 theory exams a semester, 6 into, wow, that was like close to 60 exams, if I'm not wrong, including theory and practical. In my case, I think I have doubled those exams. I've probably written some exams 2 times, so that puts the count to maybe around 120. So the point being, you stretch yourself, you do a lot of things which you're not comfortable with, which is what I said. You don't have to really put much effort here other than be open to new opportunities. So during this college time, you get to do a lot of things you otherwise wouldn't have done. And that's what is the key thing in terms of defining yourself. The next thing is how you get to befriend failure. Now, I don't know about how many here has flunked their exams, has got, I don't know, what do you call that in colloquial terms, supply. ഇവിടെ എത്ര പേർക്ക് സപ്ലി ഉണ്ട് എന്ന് എനിക്കറിയില്ല, ബട്ട് I would be, you know, so in my college days, I wasn't a nerd, I wasn't a പഠിപ്പിസ്റ്റ് or anything, but I had a pretty decent marks in school. And I remember my first university exams, right? The first year. So there were 9 papers, I think. And I remember I approached it like I approached my school exams, right? So we would learn things, and we would go into this university exam, and I would go with red ink and green ink, and I would underline important points. So I remember my chemistry and my physics paper, because I used to love physics and chemistry, and the important points I used to underline. And this is my first college university exams, right? I used to do that first year. And when the results came, I actually flunked for physics and chemistry. So out of the 9 exams, I think I flunked on 4 of them. And I was really shocked. Like, that's the first time I actually failed. Because in school, you don't do that. In school, you're fed with what are the important questions, what to expect, what not to expect. You're spoon fed. But in college and university, all that goes to shit, right? It doesn't work. So first time in my life, I faced failure, and I was really shocked. And after seeing the exam result, I was frozen for a while, to be really honest. And then after seeing the result, I came to class and I saw my friends, or everyone else, who were boosting about things. And guess what they were boasting about, right? They were like, "Potya, എത്രണ്ണം പൊട്ടി?" I said 4, and they're like, "Oh, prola, ഞാൻ 6 പൊട്ടി." The moment I got back into the class, it was like a competition right there. I mean, people were boasting how many papers all of them flunked. What I meant there is, in college, your peers, your friends help you get through it. It's suddenly the new cool to fail. And trust me, it is the most amazing experience, because if you haven't failed in certain things, let me tell you, you haven't really tried. Now, does it mean that you have to flunk your exam? That's not my point here. But it's okay to fail. And during college, if you did fail, I would say you're training yourself to get out of it, right? And I have faced this multiple times. All through the semester, I've flunked a couple of times. In fact, I was said that engineering degree needs to be finished by 4 years. I took 1 extra year to study much thoroughly. and to get my degree. But what I'm trying to tell you is during the college life, you have a setup, you have friends, and you have the peer effect where failing is okay, failing is fine. Yes, your family might hate you for it. People might still say that, nee potti, and all that, but that's fine, right? Because in real life, you never win anything at first shot. You always tend to fail. And if you haven't failed once, let me tell you, you haven't tried anything new. So failing is okay. So in college, the second important thing that you get to do is to befriend failures and to learn how to face it as an adult. So that's the second most important thing that I've learned in my college life. And like I said, this is priceless because I didn't force this myself onto it. I learned it on its go. So I don't, like I said, I'm not forcing you guys to do that. If you're good at your studies, I'm not saying flunk your exams. That's not the point here. So that's the second most important thing that you acquire in your college days. Third thing, and I think as Indians or as Malayalis, we are very, very good at this, is saying "theek hai." All right. Now, you might have heard of the proverb which says, fake it till you make it. I would say this is more of an iteration of it. It's more of a wing it till you make it. So here, the thing being, us Indians are famous about one thing, and which is that normally there is a yes and a no, right? When you ask a question, you either say yes and you either say no. But for us as Indians, we have one more thing, and that's teak hai, all right? And it's the famous Indian head shake. So your teacher asks you, assignment naale thanne vekkile, and you're like, you won't say yes, you won't say no, you're like, ശ്രമിക്കാം, നോക്കാം, right? And I'm sure you've all done this. So it's a factor, I think, for Indians or for Malayalis inherently, is that we don't like to say no, and we don't like to say yes as well, or we don't want to commit. But the most important thing is we don't like to say no. And normally we are like mocha, right? So we don't say yes, we don't say no, we say ശ്രമിക്കാം, നോക്കാം. It's more like our, what they say, ആ ഒരു എങ്ങാൻ ബിരിയാണി കിട്ടിയാലോ എന്ന് പറയുന്ന പോലത്തെ ഒരു സാധനം. So it's always that attitude with us. And I would say keep doing that wherever you can. What I meant by that is you can't really know the kind of opportunities that come your way, whether it's good, bad, whether it'll work or not. So whatever comes your way, say okay to it. Say, okay, I'll try. I'll give it a shot, right? Don't say no, I don't know. Say that, okay, let me give it a shot. Because you really have nothing to lose. All right. So what are opportunities that comes your way? Give it a shot. Like I said, I was at a big on studies when I was in college. And but I used to go for technical paper presentations with my friends, not because I was expert, but I was like, what the hell, just give it a shot, right? So whatever opportunities that come your way during your college, you say okay to it, you say TK to it. So that's one of the key things that you learn during your college. And when I say learn during your college, it means that has to be a habit for you. So that's something you have to cultivate during your college days. The next point, and which is something I would want to give as an advice back to my old self if I can, is travel and yearn for new experiences, right? Now, we spoke about discovering yourself and new experiences and learning what you're good at and all that. But all of that is actually a comfort zone away from you. So as much as opportunities you get, travel and yearn, right? And I'm talking about just getting new experience out there. So as a graduate, and I know traveling right now is pretty tricky because of COVID lockdown and all that. It's not like how you can, right? But whenever you get an opportunity to do something new and go to a new place, grab hold of it, because that's an experience that is truly priceless. So again, this point might not be a good thing to discuss right now in the situation, so I'll park it for the time being. Next, an important point is about being or figuring out how to go about a jugaad. And in a really technical term, what they call as frugal innovation, right? Now, a classic example is this image, and if you can see this, is how we have a superhero, Shaktiman, whose costume is, probably can be made at 2,000 rupees, whereas a costume for a Batman or an Iron Man would have to be spent, hundreds and millions of dollars. but yet both does the job. All right. What I meant by that, and again, this is nothing to do with just being a student or being an entrepreneur or your career. What I meant is you don't have to be perfectionist at what you do. All right. Life is not always going to hand things to you in a perfect way. You have to work with what you have. So there you need to figure out how you can do frugal innovation. So frugal innovation is simply put, making use of whatever you have. So it's all about, doing a jugaad. In Malayalam, you might say tattikootta and how people will, mock of it. But that tattikootta sometimes can be an amazing story. So jugaad or frugal innovation is not about shortcuts. It's all about using the limited resources you have to make something. Whether it works or not, obviously that's a big question. But whatever you have, make best use of it. Don't wait for the perfect opportunity. Don't wait for the perfect time. Whenever you get that opportunity, grab it and do the jugaad is what I would say. That's the fifth thing that you would learn at college. For me, I learned it during my days when we were doing inter-college festivals. So for 4 years in my engineering studies, one thing I consistently do is that I used to lead the team in terms of going to these inter-college events. So we used to hire buses and we used to put all these folks, the dance team, music team, and all this was done in mere budgets. I mean, mere pocket money. And the way you used to manage is that we used to calculate, okay, if you go to Mar Baselios College and the prize money for the dance competition is, let's say, 20,000 rupees. For music, it's 10,000 rupees. And then we would look at, okay, the entire expenses for taking a van, renting costumes, staying, and all that is going to be 20,000. We look at, okay, if we win that, it's 30,000, rest 10,000 we still have in hand. That's the kind of jugaad we used to work out while at college. And like I said, this is not something I forced. I learned it on its own. So doing jugaad is of utmost importance, and that's something you'll figure out only during your college days. Moving forward, and probably the last point I want to put forth is about building a personal brand. I think we are all going in a direction where remote working and virtual interviews is going to be the norm. And when you do that, your personal brand, irrespective of you being an entrepreneur or getting a regular job or being an artist or being whatever you want, it's important that you have a personal brand. And by that, what I mean is it can be as simple as building a social media profile, your Instagram or your LinkedIn, or even taking the next step of having a personal website. And during all these college days and doing whatever I was doing, one of the key things that I did was I used to have my website, and my website basically used to have random stuff, blog stuff that I will be following and all that. So whatever stuff that interests you, put it together and put together your website. So that's the sixth point. All right, so those are the main things that I think I had to cover. So just to put it, in terms of summary, first point, define yourself, discover yourself, befriend failure, say okay, say TK, and just wing it. Uh, and okay, the next one is travel and look for new experiences. Figure out jugaad or frugal innovation, if in terms of a technical language, and most importantly, build your personal brand. So that's the six key takeaways I have to tell you from my own college life that sort of helped me, in my career doing things that I am currently doing. So all of that are skills I've acquired during my college days, not through the formal education, but because of the setup, because of the things I've put into and things that I figured out. Now, like I said, I didn't figure out it on my own. There was family, there was friends, there was teachers who was also an important part of it, and that's what you're paying for. So uh, like I said, your engineering graduation might not give you what you had expected, but it'll give you something more. So if you're in your shoes thinking that, oh yeah, what the hell am I doing, right? എന്താണ് ചെയ്യുന്നത് with my electrical or with my electronic or with my engineering degree, don't be worried. It'll all come out well. You will be able to figure it out. Just be open to opportunities. That's the only thing I have to tell you. So Again, like I said, folks, if you have any questions, we like to interact more, follow me on Instagram. I think this is a time where I would open the floor for questions if you have any. Otherwise, like I said, we can always interact online. I'm pretty accessible either on LinkedIn or on Instagram for that fact. So I think I'll open the floor for questions if there is any.
Thank you, sir, for a wonderful session. So, hearing your life story was indeed an inspiring one. And now we can move on to the questions. Okay, the first question is from Joseph. An entrepreneur is focused on growth, but he should be careful not to weaken himself. How would you define your balance between growth and risk, between being fast and slow?
Yeah, Gauri, I sort of heard your question, but can you repeat it? I heard it's from Joseph. Uh, what's the question again?
1 minute, sir. Uh, an entrepreneur is focused on growth, but he should be careful not to weaken himself. How would you define your balance between growth and risk, between being fast and slow?
Okay. I'm not sure if I've called the question correctly, and I would request if you can put that on the chat here, either on YouTube or on Zoom as well. But yeah, from what I understand, I think what you said is, as an entrepreneur, what you balance between growth and life, I think. uh, so I'll wait for the question, but yeah.
Okay, so the question is on the chat box.
Oh yeah, so I got it, but he should be not be balancing both and just between big fast and slow. So there's no quick uh, and shortcut to that, Joseph, uh, in terms of focusing on growth and weakening himself and all that. Because let me put it this way: at the end of the day, when you set out to become an entrepreneur and doing something that you like, you're not doing this because you want to be a Mark Zuckerberg or the next one that you're doing it before because you like doing it. For me, after my engineering studies, one thing I knew was that I didn't want to work anywhere. I mean, I never went for the, those, there are no placements and all that kind of stuff. So, why? Because I was pretty sure that that's not what I wanted for myself. So, um, when I went ahead and was working on starting companies or doing things, uh, for me it was because I enjoyed it. The growth and all that came in later. Probably, I mean, once you are inside and then you figure out, okay, what's next, and like I said, it's mostly winging it sort of a thing. There's most of the times there's no proper plan. There's no structured plan anyway. So, as an entrepreneur, I would say right now, yes, I am focused on growth, but I am 7 startups away from that. So at the 7 startup, I know, okay, yeah, I need to focus on growth and all that. But when you start doing these things, it's not really about that. So even my current venture, what I'm working on, yes, we want to grow, but most importantly, I do it because I like doing it. I do it because I like the whole idea of building something from scratch, and everything else just follows. So there's no clear definition or balance between growth and risk. It's mostly about what you like doing and what you don't like doing. And for me, I like doing things from scratch. I like, uh, going fast and not too slow. I think what you should essentially focus is, are you happy at doing this? Are you excited about this? And that's all that really matters at the end of the day. ബാക്കിയൊക്കെ തന്നെ വന്നോളും. It will all fall in place. There's no structured way to. There's no structured formula saying, oh yeah, this is how you need to start up, or this is how you need to do a career. And this has nothing to do with being an entrepreneur either. If you are going to go on to a regular career job, it's all the same. All you need to focus is, whether you want to do it or not. And you might not figure that out from day one. You might only figure that out in day 300 or maybe day 20 or day 600, which is fine. So don't be bothered about all that. Just focus on what you want to do, and that's all that really matters. So yeah, I just saw the comments right now. So yeah, I see a lot of couple of triples out there, and yes, Crossroads. Yes, ഞാൻ ക്രോസ് റോഡ്സിന് വന്നിട്ടുണ്ട് മാബസീലിയസിൽ. Uh, yes, and I think yes, we did win something while we were there as well. So yeah, well, I've been to Mar Baselios, amazing college. All right, I have another question again from YouTube, which I can see. How and when did you figure out that you are meant to be an employee? I think I already answered that, but just to give a perspective, uh, during my engineering studies, one thing that I figured out is that I am not very good with authority. As in, if someone told me to do this, I might not really enjoy doing that, right? And I already told you this. When I reached to Ireland, I was forced into getting into a job, and 3 months, 4 months there, I was actually fired uh, for a couple of something around these reasons as well. Meaning, I don't really. I mean, I'm not saying I want to be a leader, I want to boss around. That's not what I'm saying. But I don't like to be bossed around. It's not that I want to be a boss, but I don't like to be bossed around. And that's something I figured out during my college days. And also, I figured out that I perform better when I leave. അതിൻ്റെ ഫിഗർ ഔട്ട് എങ്ങനെ ചെയ്തു എന്ന് വെച്ചാൽ ഇപ്പം ഈ മാർ ബെസീലിയസ് കോളേജിൽ വന്നൊരു എക്സാമ്പിൾ തന്നെ ഞാൻ എടുക്കാം. I think I think I remember this correctly. Um, so I told you during my college days, I used to lead the whole inter-college fest group thing. So we were like a group of students, like seniors, juniors, എല്ലാവരും ഉണ്ടായിരുന്നു. And we used to participate in different events like dance, music, and all of us used to go together, like, ഒരു tempo traveler rent എടുത്ത്, and there's like 20, 30 of us, and we would go to these colleges and participate. And all of that was managed by me at that point. I mean, finances, getting the van, getting everyone in shape, together, all of that was managed by me from my second year onwards. അതായത് ഞാൻ second year student onwards, I was used to managing this thing. So from that whole aspect of it, I sort of figured out that I was good at this. I was good at managing people. I was good at leading. And that can only come out if I am to lead in a project. And that wouldn't happen if I am to work elsewhere. So I would say that's where I figured out that, I'm not cut out for being an employee or, working anywhere. Next question, Varun. What are the most important qualities required to be an entrepreneur? I think Varun, നിങ്ങളുടെ കഴിഞ്ഞ കുറേ സെഷൻസിൽ ഇതൊക്കെ തന്നെ കുറേ റിപ്പീറ്റഡ് ആയിട്ട് വന്നിട്ടുണ്ടാവും. So I don't want to bore you with the same things, but I think from my presentation you might have picked out a thing or two uh, in terms of what is important to be an entrepreneur. And uh, I think the first 2 points that we discussed today is the main thing that I would want to stress when it comes to being an entrepreneur. And the first 2 points, I'll just go back to that, was about defining yourself and about befriending failure. All right. So this and befriending failure. ഈ രണ്ട് കാര്യങ്ങൾ ആണ് നിങ്ങൾ ഏറ്റവും ഇമ്പോർട്ടൻ്റ് ആയിട്ട് എന്താ പറയുക ഫിഗർ ഔട്ട് ചെയ്യേണ്ടത് ഇഫ് യു ആർ ടു ബിക്കം എൻ ഓൺട്രപ്രനർ. ബിക്കോസ് only if you know what you're good at, only if you know what you enjoy, you can really do something. So, that's the first point, right? Second, in terms of befriending failure, I think, see, I am on my 7th venture, and ഏഴ് വെഞ്ചേഴ്സ് അല്ല, probably on my 10th venture, I have to count. പക്ഷേ ഈ 10 വെഞ്ചറിൻ്റെ ഇടയിൽ പലതും നല്ല അടിപൊളിയായിട്ട് 4 നിലയിൽ പൊട്ടിയിട്ടുണ്ട്. Couple of them have been successful, but most of them are not successful, and you wouldn't hear about it, right? You would only heard about the good stories, the successful stories. When Gauri introduced me, probably spoke about my agency because that sort of went well. There are other things that I've done which really didn't work out for me. For example, my last venture, Playing Foods, uh, we had a good run. We raised funds. We had a good network and all that. But finally, it went out to be an utter failure. All the goodwill that I created suddenly went away because of that failure. Because the company went bankrupt. There were money we were owing. I nearly went bankrupt. There was nothing I could do back in India. And I had crashed, totally crashed, and then was the lowest point of my life, and I didn't know what to do. And at that point, I thought the best thing is to start from scratch, which is why I moved to Ireland. So entrepreneurship is all about failing, failing, and again failing till you figure it out. About if you can face that, and if you can learn to face or befriend failure during a college, that's the key thing for being an entrepreneur. All right, Vignesh, without knowing anything about industries and university to work on startups like just after or during college, I think Vignesh, that's a very important uh, point. But having said that, also I think we discussed this is that you won't be handed out things. You're not in a school anymore, right? So, and that's what college is good about. That's what universities are good about, all right? I mean, you do things on your own. I mean, look at what you're doing right now with IEDC, for example, right? I know IEDC. I've been an active part of the whole Kerala startup mission and what they do and all that. Um, what I meant is IEDC was supposed to be an entrepreneurship group and have sessions in colleges and all that. You guys are now pretty active online. You're doing online sessions. Instagram is pretty active. You're doing kick-ass, right? I mean, very good sessions in the last few days, uh, and the good speaker lineup. So you made good use of the opportunity. What I meant to say is that ഒരു കാര്യം പെർഫെക്റ്റ് ആയിട്ട് നിങ്ങളുടെ മുമ്പിൽ വരത്തില്ല when it comes to being an entrepreneur. So taking back from my own example, I was an engineering electrical graduate. I did not formally learn management. So when I started Salt Mango Tree, and uh, I didn't start Salt Mango Tree, like that. Obviously, there were two other ventures I started and flunked before that. So there was this collective knowledge and experience I was getting. But most importantly, even when I started Salt Mango Tree, I didn't know shit about advertising. So I was going into meetings and presenting stuff, and the client would ask me, "What is the ROI of this?" And I would sit there on my phone and I would Google define ROI. I have done that. Where client asked me ROI എന്താ എന്ന് ചോദിക്കുമ്പോൾ ഞാൻ അവിടെ നിന്ന് ഗൂഗിൾ ചെയ്യുവാണ് define ROI, and then I would know, oh yeah, ROI is return of investment, and then I would figure out an answer on the spot. So that is what entrepreneurship always. You're always on the spot. You're always getting these new things, and that's what makes it interesting. So there's no way you can figure it all out before starting to do something. You have to wing it, man. That's I would say that's the only way to go around it. I think Vignesh, I answered your questions. Next, Jovi, you're asking, all your products are having such cool Malayali names, all mango tree playing. Can you throw some light on the role of the marketing and success of an enterprise? Yes. So, Joby, I did not name Salt Mango Tree, though I had the pleasure of working on it. Salt Mango Tree in the Pera, obviously, all of you know who named it. It was the great actor himself. Akshay, we decided to use it because my friend and my colleague during my days, he was also an engineer. He had a pair Hiran, I don't know. And he was using Salt Mango Tree as a social media platform to promote movies. And when I met him and we decided to do this together, I expanded it to become a digital agency and all that. But yeah, to answer your question, marketing is very important, even from day one. Uh, there's no real shortcut to it. But when you say marketing, you don't have to worry too much about it. You just have to put a personality to it. So one of the things that Salt Mango Tree was successful was because it had a personality. There were faces, there were people, there was a culture that we boasted about. And if you look at behind any successful brand, that's the key. ഒരു personality ഉണ്ടാവുക എന്നുള്ളതാണ്. So if you are looking to start up something, focus on just two things: brand and personality. And that's the only thing you need to be marketing about. You don't have to talk about, oh yeah, my product or my service or my startup is excellent because we will do a better job. No, doing a better job is not marketing. Telling that you can do a better job is not marketing. But telling that why you do this, that is what marketing is all about. So Just focus on why you are doing it. And I'll go back to the same point of defining yourself, right? So it all goes back to that. So essentially, marketing in this age is all about putting a personality and telling people why you are doing this and not about what you're doing. So I would say that's the key point. All right, next question from Sania. How far do you think that appreciation and acceptance affect one's performance? How far? Okay. I think appreciation and acceptance നെക്കാട്ടും വർക്ക് ചെയ്യുന്ന ഒരു സാധനമുണ്ട്, which is the exact opposite actually, which is people not accepting you and not really, giving you the appreciation. So, you know, during my during my college days, um, I still remember that my family, mostly, your immediate circle, they don't really understand what you're going through, right? I mean, they'll say that, yeah, we understand, we've been there and all that, but let's face it, they really don't. And having said that, I think what really kept me going is the fact that they didn't really appreciate what I did, or they didn't really appreciate what I got. And that's a good thing, right? So when I was young, I used to complain about this. I used to tell that, oh, I used to worry that, oh, my mom or my family, they don't appreciate what I do. They don't appreciate what I'm good at. അല്ലെങ്കിൽ ഞാൻ എന്ത് achieve ചെയ്തു and all that. In fact, I still remember Salt Mango Tree എന്ന് പറഞ്ഞ company acquire ചെയ്തതിനു ശേഷം what uh, what mom was happy about is that, oh yeah, then I can go back to getting a regular job now, right? Because I was an engineering graduate and I can get a good job now that the agency is acquired. So that's the appreciation I got at that point, right? But you know, as much as I was annoyed about it at that point, when I look back at it now, I was happy about it. I mean, that sort of pushed me to do more. It sort of pushed me to never settle down, right, on whatever little that one achieves. So, as much as it is good to be appreciated and to be accepted, being an entrepreneur by yourself, in that perspective, I would say forget about appreciation and acceptance. You'll never get it. And you should be fueled by that. You should be fueled by the fact that you're not getting it initially. Eventually, yes, you will get it. But yeah, being an employee, obviously, acceptance and appreciation and all of that really matters, and it really affects your performance. And we've seen that happening. I mean, when you're an employee, paisa matram or salary, alone is not enough, right? Because your inner spirit, or your how you call that, inner personality, or your ego needs pampering as well, and that's what appreciation and acceptance is all about, right? When you're an employee, but when you're an entrepreneur, your ego is already on a high. Your ego is like already on a higher level that you don't really have to be bothered about being accepted, or having all that. In fact, not being accepted is what will essentially fuel you. So I would say, I hope that sort of answered your question, Sanya. uh, all right. Why do I feel that some of the questions are pretty much like those pre-planned questions? Was there a discussion around 5 questions that we need to be speaking or asking Mr. Andrew Mendes after the sessions? Because some of those questions I feel is like that. But no worries, it's okay to have those questions as well. Okay, so any more questions, folks? Yes, there's one more from Faizan here. Being an entrepreneur is a huge thing in the kind of society. So how do you end up? Faizan, my family is still not comfortable with this. I'll be honest. My mom is not. My wife is not. My father-in-law is not. I don't think anyone is. And it is not going to be easy. So don't try doing that. Why do you have to even try doing that? Right? I mean, at the end of the day, facts speak. That's all that matters. Your success, what you achieved, has to speak for itself. And if you didn't achieve anything, it's fine as well. Because, see, as far as you're concerned, it's your life. You wanted to do something, you tried. Whether you failed or won or become successful, that's not important at this point, right? What is important is you get to do what you want in your life, because it's your life. It's not your parents' life. It's not your spouse's life. It's not your girlfriend's life. It's not your anyone's life. It's your life. So don't try or get lost to try comforting anyone about it. I mean, you will have to burn some bridges to get there. You will have to burn some bridges to be successful. And in those bridges, you might not put everyone happy. Your family might not be always happy about it. Okay? My mom wasn't happy about it. ഞാൻ engineering പഠിച്ചു and when I got into FISAT, I did not get into a government seat, so I did pay a hefty fees to do that. I mean, I had an education loan which I didn't repay, which my family had to repay because after my engineering I did not land a job. I didn't want to work anywhere. I was still trying to figure out what to do. So it's not the accepted way for sure, and don't try and it's not going to. And 7 or 10 companies later, I'm still doing it. So I'm not I told you I started another venture. I'm not starting another venture because I have a lot of savings, and that I'm very comfortable with what I'm doing. That okay, ഒരുപാട് പൈസ എൻ്റെ ബാങ്കിലുണ്ട്, so let me do another venture. It's not where I am, right? uh, I don't believe in that. So even when I'm doing this venture, I am risking my family as well. I have 2 kids now, so it's different ballgame. So even my wife would be worried about it. My mom is still worried about it. So it's a never settling sort of a life to a certain point. I'm not saying it's always going to be like this, but it's all about those ups and downs. And if you're worried whether you're going to be accepted by your peers or your family doing that, I would say you are in the wrong business there. So don't be worried about that. And first, the question: when starting a company from zero, how to manage and handle finance, how to survive till your company makes revenue. So, and first, when starting company from zero, so see all the ventures that I've started. Most of it, when I started, I didn't have a single penny to put on it. And I didn't have a single penny to even carry out my own expenses. So there's no easy answer to it, to be really honest. And again, it depends on the kind of business you're doing. So let's say if you are opening a service-based business, or either let's say you're starting a bakery, or you're going to start a digital marketing company, for example, right? It's a service, right? You don't need to put a lot of upfront cost there. Uh, Forget bakery. I'm talking about, let's say, a website development agency or a digital agency. You don't need to put a lot of upfront cost, and people will start paying you. So for going back to Salt Mango Tree, I still remember we got our first client. The money came in. Our paisa vechitana, we registered the company, and then we started, hiring people and all that. But yes, there was some initial capital that was involved. Illa nalla. Uh, it, it's not going to be an easy run. You can't put that on an Excel and figure out, all that. But sometimes you have to do that as well. So, for example, my next venture, which was Pling Foods, it was a product company. At the same, obviously, it's a different ball game. You have a lot of upfront costs. You have to buy packaging. You have to buy stuff that you need, branding, website, there are a lot of things that you need to even launch the business. At that point, obviously, you put together your expenses and you try to raise funds from your friends and family or from others. That's what I essentially did with Pling. I sort of raised money from my friends and family, all down the drain, by the way, right now. So that's the only way you survive all that. I hope I answered that. There's no quick answer, but it's probably a start. Is there any other questions I missed? Going back, hi, Reshmi, you are from St. Claret College, Bangalore. I'm sorry, I thought there was mostly folks from Kerala. If you don't understand Malayalam, though I used it here and there, sorry about that. I just saw this right now. Any other questions, folks?
I think there is no more questions, and so it's time to wind up our session. Uh, Hello.
Yeah, Gauri, you were saying I couldn't catch that. So I think that yeah, we answered all the questions.
Yeah, I think
Yeah.
it's time to wind up our session.
Okay. All right.
Once again, thank you so much, sir, for this wonderful session. And indeed, it was inspiring to hear your life stories. And you are one of those people who proved that failure is just a stepping stone of success. And before winding up, I would like to quote some of the words Mr. Anton has said through the session. That is, don't wait for the perfect opportunity. Grab the ones that is in front of you. So stay tuned for yet another session. See you tomorrow. Bye. So thank you, sir.
All right, thank you guys. You have a wonderful day ahead, and thanks for your time and being here. And all the best to all of you. Like I said, if you want to interact any further, I am pretty accessible online, so you can reach out to me. And if you want to talk something, I'm always available. Thanks again, Gauri. Thanks, Arun, for the invitation, and all of you who were here. You were a wonderful audience, and thanks for the questions as well. I wish you all the very best. കുറച്ച് supply ഒക്കെ അടിച്ചാലും കുഴപ്പമില്ല പതുക്കെ പാസ്സായാൽ മതി. All right, all the best.
Thank you, sir.